working with the first couple of clients, their reaction was like, wow, this is really good. I would love to pay you more to make more videos for me. And that's when I was like, aha, among the last 3, 4, 5 things that I've tried, this is the one that's getting me the highest, like the most compliments and the most feedback. So this is probably something that I can double down on and see if I can monetize even further.
Hi Sifat, it's a pleasure to have you on Peopleizer. Okay, so today we're gonna talk about starting an activity on the side of your job, right? And I remember a conversation we had a week ago or so, and you told me, I'm pretty sure I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. So let's get started with that, right? Let's get started with presenting to people your daily life, right? What is it about?
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much for having me, Peopleizer. It's fun having these chats with people. Obviously, we had a very similar chat privately on Lunch Club, and then you asked me to do this in a more public setting. So I'm really grateful to be here. Exactly. So you asked me about my day. What my day looks like right now is, I wake up and I first try to. I do an elaborate morning routine right now because the weather is really nice. I go to the park and get some grass under my legs. But then after that, I do the regular 9 to 5 grind. But I do it from home because I've negotiated a full-time job, which allows me a lot of flexibility. I can work from home. So around 8:30 to 9, I get on my computer, and about till 3 or 4 in the afternoon, I will work just like any other person. I'll drink a lot of coffee, take a little lunch break. That's what I do for my day. So by day, I'm an HR professional for a growing tech startup in Southeast Asia. After hours, however, I do video editing gigs. So I've got 2 distinct things that I do online, which is one is I edit podcasts. So what you're watching right now is probably going to be edited by me because I've taken this as a side project on the side, but I edit podcasts for people online, and I also edit videos. I just realized that video editing is one of the most sought after skills online. It's almost as sought after these days as coding was when the .com bubble was just coming up, or still is, in fact. So that's.
Let's try to rewind a little bit before we go into your activity at night. I want to understand your mindset. What because this is what people are also interested about, right? Most of the people have a daily job. They go for 9 to 5 or 9 to very late in the night, sometime with OTs. But they have a corporate job, right? And how did you get started on starting to migrate and diverge toward, okay, how can I get started on something on the side? Talk to us about that. That would be very interesting for the people.
Yeah. Honestly, that's something we're talking about. When I first started doing side hustles, so the thing is, first of all, if I take a step back into the answer to this question, I've always been a person of many interests, right? Just doing one thing. I know, being a master of one thing is more valuable than being jack of all trades, but I've always, throughout my life, being a jack of all trades. I like dabbling with many different kind of things because I just feel like there's so much to do in this world, right? If you think about painting, art, dancing, learning to code, I have all these interests, and whenever I see something new, I'm like, oh, I want to learn that, right? So that was me as a person. So when I entered the workforce, I graduated a little late. I graduated at 26. Until the age of 26, I was, working 3 part-time jobs while at university and studying everything and joining all the clubs that I could. I like being involved. I'm a very big people person. But as soon as I joined a full-time job, which is now my career, which is now how I'm defined in this world, I felt that it was a little bit limiting. So all throughout my time that I was in full-time jobs, and I'm in full-time jobs, I was dabbling with different interests. I always took a lot of time on the weekends to do things that other people sometimes thought was like, hey, why are you staying so busy over the weekend? Just relax and chill. But for me, it was like, just trying to, service that itch. I had that creative itch always to do something more fun, to do something more creative with my time.
Let's try to pause a little bit on that, and let's go a bit softer for the people, because it's a lot to take in for the people, and you're full of energy. You go at a high speed. So you were telling us you felt a bit limited. Can you expand a little bit on this? What is it that you were feeling? You felt that you were a bit limited at work in your daily job. The fact of being really in this time frame of 9 to 5. Tell us a little bit more on this.
Exact. So yeah, I'd love to. So basically, to give you more context, I was an HR professional. I started working for a startup. The startup was, relatively successful in our early days. And what happened was, when you work at a startup, you get to do a lot of things because it's a small company. Everyone has to pull their weight, do something. But when the company goes bigger, your job naturally, by design, has to be more specific. So, for example, I took on the responsibility of being the HR guy at my startup. So I became the head of HR. So, the main things as we were growing was the most important thing for me to do, and I was getting really good at it, was hiring and performance of people, monitoring performance of people, right? And so when I started doing that and it was new, it was really fun because I was learning every day. But then after I think 2 years of doing that same thing, it felt a little bit repetitive. But for the sake of the company, I could easily walk away from it, do something more fun in the company, but I knew that I was the best person for the job there. So what you end up getting yourself sometimes into a scenario where, things are monotonous, but they are monotonous by design. And, you're almost required to be in that monotony in order for the company to really survive and for you also to provide the most value you can for the company. So that's why I felt a little bit limited. I wanted to do more. Whenever I walked by the room where the marketing team would sit, I saw they were making content and brand guidelines and videos. I'd never done that stuff, but I found it very interesting. When I walked by the engineers and the product managers, they were thinking about, hey, where to put this button on the app, which would drive more engagement among the customers. I wanted to be part of that. But I couldn't because I had my full-time job. I had to do my HR bit, so I couldn't just leave everything and sit with the coders and say, "Hey, teach me how to code. I want to be part of this as well." So that's why things can get a little bit limiting, especially when you're at a job and in a similar role for a very long time.
That's very interesting. So basically, you wanted to venture to other things more. It's basically you felt almost intellectually limited by doing a monotonous job, right? So the same thing. So you need to go because there's the type of people who venture to other things because they want more money. They want to grow another opportunity. It was really like basically I have a passion into doing multiple things that stimulate me intellectually, and I would like to spend more time on that. I would like my life to be more like this than doing the same thing on a daily basis. And so, where did the opportunity come from?
So the opportunity didn't really come. It's almost I had to create it, right?
Oh, okay.
So I dabbled with I dabbled with. So are you talking about the job? Or like the stuff outside,
the side activity, right? Basically, what you're doing now, and more in the night time, right? Where did the opportunity come from?
It came from pure just artistic interest and wanting to learn. So for a long time, while others were going to the bar after hours, after the work of the day was over, or just relaxing and watching Netflix, I wanted to go on Skillshare.com, a learning platform where I could learn more about, hey, like what do and I would just learn random things. I did a course on coaching because I thought that was that would help me in my job because I had to coach managers sometimes on how to do their job better. I did a course on graphic design because I like graphic design. I started dabbling with video editing, which is what I'm doing now. So I spent a lot of time just soul searching. Hey, what do I want to do? Is this really my life? Am I going to be an HR professional forever? Or is there something more for me out there? So this search almost, for me, the weekends were never just like, hey, relax, I'll plan it out. For me, the weekends were quite regimented. It was always like, oh, no, I'm going to spend from 9 to 12 on my laptop trying to figure this out. Then I'll take a break. It was almost like any other work day, but I was focusing on something other than work. So I was supposed to refresh and rejuvenated.
So you tried different subjects. How are you able to tell if something is something that you like or not? Because we've got this problem for a lot of people. A lot of people reach out to me and they tell me, well, I don't know what I like. I don't know my passion. I don't know what I'm good at, right? So how can we help them? What resonated with you?
I think there's probably an easier and better way to do it than how I found it. For me, it was just like trying everything, like or almost everything that I had access to, and then after 3 months, 4 months of trying something, just being like, okay, do I like this? Do I like how this, doing this and how this makes me feel, or do maybe this is something else for me, right? So that was really it for me. For me, I would just dabble into many, many different things and see what is the one thing or two things among the 5, 6, 10 things that I tried that I'd really be interested in. And that's how I kind of discovered. I just think, when you're going shopping for a chair, right? You're not going to buy the first chair that you see. You're going to sit on many different chairs and you try out different styles, different colors. You might even, you might have gotten to the shop intending to buy a chair, but then you get a sofa because you like it more. So, but the thing that you have to really do is like get yourself to that showroom, that e-commerce store, where you can see a lot of choice. And that's when you can really decide, oh, I actually like that more than this. And sometimes you're not going to be able to narrow down that choice. You're going to come, but at least you're going to come up with the top 3 or top 5. And then I think it's your responsibility to like just sit on those 5 sofas and see what you like.
That's a good. So what was the name of the website? Can you tell us again?
The one that I was learning a lot from, Skillshare.com.
Skillshare.com. Okay, and so you.
Yeah, it's pretty common.
Did you time box the time you spend on an activity, or you say, okay, 1 week I will do this, the next week I will do that? How does it work?
I mean, the thing is, if you try to time box yourself, it gets really exhausting. For me, it was more like I think mentally just keeping some time that, hey, like I'm this weekend I'm gonna do something new, something different. I'm gonna learn something different, even if that's the one thing on my checklist on a Saturday or a Sunday. I will do this. Okay, I will spend at least half an hour. It was not necessarily like very regimented, like, I'm gonna sit from 9 to 12, 12 to 3. Nowadays I have to do that because now I'm doing this for money and sometimes I have tough deliverables on me. But for me it was more like, okay, at least have that discipline, write it down and do something rather than spending your weekend doing nothing, because it's so easy to just like lie down in your couch on a weekend and then scroll through Instagram reels for 3 hours, because it's so easy. Right?
Okay.
So I just tried to at least just stay conscious and be like, okay, no, let's learn something new. Let's go on Skillshare. I've already paid for it. Might as well make use of it, learn something new and feel a little bit accomplished.
And so at the end of your exploration phase, right, did you narrow down to a number of topics or just one topic that you say, okay, yeah, I want to do that. I really like that. And I'm curious about this. I want to skill up in this domain.
Yeah, I tried a lot of different things. So one of the big things that I'm passionate about is people. So I actually dabble. I did a big coaching course online. I paid for it. And then I was actually getting coaching clients for a little bit. But then once I started doing it, I just realized that, I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. So I moved on from that. Then I've always been a musician.
Why you didn't enjoy it as much as you thought?
I think I always liked coaching and giving advice to people that that came to me and wanted it. But then I realized when I got into sort of branding myself as a coach online, I realized that like half the battle there was prospecting and selling, and then like the other half, or like maybe even like only 30% of it, was the actual act of coaching and following up with someone. And you would always have to sort of narrow down your prospects into people who are very coachable. Obviously those are the ones that can get coaching, right? Whereas for me, I'm the type of person, I've got a lot of like I don't know what it's called, it's like when you try to save people. So people who are really like in need of coaching but they don't know that they are in need of coaching, I try to help them out. So for example, I'm always that family member who's trying to give advice to like my family members to like, okay, you can be healthier, you can be better. So I realized that there was a big there was a big disconnect of like, I can be a good coach to my friends and my family and all that, but when I'm doing coaching online for branding myself as a coach and only coaching people who are looking actively for coaching, that's a different ballgame. And so I just realized that, hey, you know what, there's people far better qualified and also in a better state to do that kind of stuff. So I just realized, okay, maybe that's not my calling.
That's good. That's a good example, right? Because it means that, yes, sometimes you've got to go do the things, go practice a bit the job or the activity, and to realize more things, right? More data point, more information that you couldn't access if you were not trying to do the thing in the first place. So it's really excellent that you've got, and it means also the people need to be ready to get to do the dirty work, to get to do something first, right? Go try it a bit, and it's normal, right? Don't be surprised to try 3, 4, 5 different activities and see what really resonates with you, because sometimes you have a misconception of the thing. It's like, okay, I love coaching, I love doing that, but actually when I do it practically, it's actually a very different experience than I was thinking it is. Good point.
Well put. That's exactly it, right? Like, sometimes we humans have a tendency to have like preconceived notions, right? Oh, I think I'll like it, so I'll definitely like it. But then you really just have to go do the thing, and then you'll realize whether you like it or not.
So coaching was the first try, and after, so what did you do?
One of many tries, right? And then during COVID, when we were stuck at home, me and my friend who I used to make music with when I was in high school, we started making music again, and I'm still doing that on the side. But yeah, that was like a few weekends of just like, hey, let's try to make the best music possible and release it on Spotify and be famous and all of that. So that was really fun, and that became like a hobby which is still going. So I spent a lot of time doing that, and after that, I think after a few different things, I jumped on the AI bandwagon when ChatGPT 3 came out, and I was like, okay, this is really cool. What can you make with it? What are some practical business implications? I even did some consulting for companies because I successfully been able to use some AI tools in my workflow at office, and saved a lot of time. So I was consulting for people, getting a little bit of money from that as well. And I did that too. But then I also realized with that, oh, you know what? There's people who have been studying machine learning and AI for 5 years now. And I just got into the bandwagon like 6 months to a year ago. There's no way that I can, do this at a very high level and really add tangible value. So I wanted to see like where I could really add tangible value. Like that was also one of those things, because that could actually be something that I was interested about, but then also like I could really add a lot of value, and thus like create value, and thus also create more income for myself, right? So that was always the income factor. It might be something that people don't really focus on because it's wrong to do so, or we've been taught that, hey, do what you love. It's not about the money. For me, it was always about the money. I want to make money. Like I think I have a lot to give to the world. I want to give the maximum value that I can, and that means that and the world will value you the way that you show up in the world. That's what I believe. So all that happened.
You're totally right about the fact of identifying the spot where you create value, thinking from the user perspective. It's very important. I'll let you go on. Sorry to cut you.
No. And then I during COVID, another thing that I started was just filming more videos. Okay. So I was lucky enough to be in a very nice island in Indonesia. So I was working in the capital Jakarta before COVID. And then once COVID hit and we were on lockdown, I did a bold move. I got rid of my apartment and I moved to the island of Lombok. And there's a lot of nature, surfing, a lot of beautiful spots. So naturally, I was just more inclined to like take my camera out and take my phone out and take photos and videos of all the time. And so that also led me to just like playing around with video and video editing. And when I started video editing and putting my clips together, I just felt this sense of flow. I really thought that, hey, you know what? Time would fly by, like 5-6 hours to fly by, and I'm editing a single video because I'm just so into it. And then I just realized, oh, like this is actually something I want to do. And so since 2020 till like for the next 2 years or so, I edited a lot of videos. I started making vlogs. I started making travel content and all of that. And in that time, a good friend of mine from school, he became really famous on YouTube with his videos as well. I never reached that level of success, but it was also a good encouragement to see, hey, you know what? He's also someone who like worked really hard on this and did really well because of his filming skills, editing skills, and also speaking on camera skills. So I was like, okay. And so that also encouraged me to delve really deep into it. And then that morphed into other people coming up to me and saying, hey, your edits are really good. Would you do an edit for me? Right? And I was like, okay, interesting. So I started doing edits for my friends here and there. I started really focusing on my own Instagram and TikTok and trying to grow it with engaging edits. And then it kind of morphed into now where I started freelancing, about 3-4 months ago for video edits. And now, I have this podcast production service where I do video podcasts. And I also do like other freelance editing, like mainly the main interest is either like online course material or also like Instagram Reels and TikToks and that kind of thing.
So before describing what you're doing right now, I want to pause on a few things which were actually very interesting for people, I think, right? Before going to the idea of flow, I want to pause on the statement you say around friends. So friends are saying you're really good at that, right? Because this is important. It's actually a very strong signal that tell you what you're good at, and it's usually it's a validation basically that you actually create value from the other person perspective, right? So some people sometimes they tell you like, oh, you're good at coaching, right? You're good at giving advice on this domain and stuff like that. And I think it's important to pay attention to that. So let's dig a little bit on that. So what was the context? So you were still on this island in Indonesia and creating content, and your friends come to you and tell you, oh, you're good at editing? Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah. Essentially, right? Like, I mean, I was posting video after video after video, and everyone was just kind of noticing that my edits were getting better and better. You know, my choice of music, how I was cutting, the kind of transitions I was doing, and I was really putting a lot of time into it. And people were noticing, like, wow, this is actually pretty professional, even though, you know, I know you and you live in the room right next to me. And so that's how it started.
Did they ask you to do work for them?
So this happened from the company that I was working at once, right? So I ended up like recording this like funny TikTok about my company, and that I put it on LinkedIn, and it went viral. And then I remember actually, you know, several people at my company saying, hey, like, I need to do this for video. Like, can you help me? Because, you know, we were in the HR team, and, you know, the HR team didn't have video editors, but we sometimes needed to work with a few videos here and there. And I was like, oh, I'll take over. I'll do that, right? So that's when it was validation. Oh, I actually have a skill that's most like people don't have, or like most, or you know, it's valuable and people value it and people also need it. So that's where that kind of that thinking came, and that discovery came. And then I was I was just growing my own video and helping others out whenever they needed any help.
So how did you turn this from an activity, basically from a hobby, to a business, right? Because at some point you need to transition from like, okay, I'm doing that for fun, I'm helping from time to time, but it's not really structured, it's not as a business. So how do you transition more toward a business?
Yeah, so how I transitioned more towards the business is, you know, since I already, because of my own videos, I started getting a little bit of following on social media. I took all that and you know, we discussed this on the last time we spoke. You know, I've always been someone who's been trying to service a lot of debt from my family. So I was always on the hunt for like consulting gigs and gigs on the side where I was trying to make a little bit of extra money. And so I took all my edits because I'd already had the validation from my friends that it was really professional. I put them on Upwork, the freelancer platform, and I just said, hey, video editing, you know, skills out there. And I started getting some interest, even though I didn't get gigs straight away. It's pretty hard to get gigs on Upwork when you're new and you don't have a history built up there. But I just, you know, put up my content there and said, yeah, you guys can hire me. And so you can even see when someone views your proposal, because it's really hard to get your views even on your profile. So I started getting more and more views. Slowly, I started getting a couple of gigs. Those people referred me to other people. And then it just kind of spiraled on from that, right? It was like very organic. When I found my first client, it was a very short work. It was she was making this online free workshop, and it needed like really quick editing. So I think the post said something like, oh, need a fast edit. And I was really like, I think I was the first one to reply on it and say, hey, I'm fast and professional. It was the weekend as well. So I was like, oh, I can get it to you today. And so she was like, okay, let's go. And I did it. And the response was like, wow, this is really professional. I'm going to give you more work. And then when I started doing her other work, I took all that and, you know, I started reaching out to other people. Hey, I made this for myself and also this for another similar creator. Would you like to work with me, right? And then the other way that I started getting business was, you know, I started reaching out to all my friends who had social media marketing agencies, because they were doing all the online work, but they would usually hire like a agency for video or like another freelancer for video. So I basically started to ask them, hey, dude, I do these, and I can probably give you a better rate than some of the agencies can, and I just want some experience. Can I help you out? So I started, Nick, I did a lot of free work in the middle. Like that's something I want to point out, because I knew I was good, but I only had my own examples to show. So I did, I'm still helping out one of my friends conduct her own podcast. She puts out one episode a week and I edit her episode for free. Because this episodes that I do is completely like, you know, I get to do whatever I want because she's getting free editing. And I do those edits and I put them on my, I put those edits on my portfolio. And go like, hey, this is examples of my work. And another thing that I would like to point out is like, you know, I live in Asia, where these services are, I think, a little bit cheaper to acquire and to do than in the West. So my client base that I work with, because I have a good hold of the English language, because I've got a good context of the Western world, because I lived abroad, I get clients, I try to exclusively get clients who are in the West. So then you can really create this arbitrage, this like, I can do things that, people here can probably get done a lot cheaper, but I charge them a little bit extra because, I'm dealing with people from the West, and I can do it. So that's how it kind of.
I think all what you say is very important, and for people who listen to this interview, I hope some people realize it, that you are actually also strategic, meaning that you look at things, you look at where are the gap on the market, where are opportunities. It's not like just doing something and just seeing how it works and stuff like that. I feel that you pause a bit, you look, you observe, you analyze, and then you take decision and take action. And it's important to do that as well when you start an activity on the side, because otherwise you can spend weeks, months, years actually doing this, but not really understanding a bit the larger picture of things. So the pattern that I see, you basically, showcasing your work is very important, and it means that you will need to do part of the work sometime for free. Don't be surprised about that. It's like, I'm talking to a lot of people on a weekly basis. I see some people coaching for free at the beginning because they've got to create a user base, right? They've got to demonstrate that they can create value in the first place. It's a very right now it's a very competitive market across multiple industries. So that's I really value what you're doing. It's true.
So I just to add on to that, free work is really important, because not only does it help you get your first, like, guinea pigs to test your service or product, whatever you're doing on, but also the other important thing about giving off services for free is getting the feedback. Sometimes you come to something, you bring something to the market, or your client base that you think that the client would want. But the clients will be, if you go provide it to 5 clients, they will tell you what exactly they want, right? This is the philosophy that we follow in startups. I worked in tech startups for 8 years now. Like when you have an idea for a product, the startup philosophy is get it out to the hands of your potential customers, even if it's a really like a version 0.001 of it, right? Which means like it's a very rough version of it, because then you can start getting the feedback. Hey, does your customer base really want that product? When I started coaching, I thought I was a great coach. I thought, hey, you know what? I naturally am a good coach to people. But then I just realized people don't want a coach like me. People want a coach who's done all these certifications. People who want a lot of structure, a lot of templates. And I just realized, okay, this is not, even though I think I'm good at it, people don't want the service. I can probably be a mediocre coach at best, but I would rather work in an industry where I'm like highly regarded, right? Then I did, AI. I was looking at, like AI automation agencies were the craze. If you go and look up AI automation agency, everyone's bringing one up, like in the last 6 months, right? People who don't even understand AI that well. So I studied a lot. I went on this into my man cave and started researching 12, 13 hours a day on AI, started brushing up on my Python. And then I actually went and talked to companies. I worked for my friend's company. He even paid me a few $100s for my services. And then I talked to other companies, and then I, made templated solutions. Then I took it to companies. I realized, like, especially, the companies that I had access to in my network, they didn't want it. They already had people and processes. My thingy, okay, yeah, AI could probably speed up quicker. People didn't want it. So I just realized, okay, people don't want it. There's no point pursuing this one thing just because you believe in it, right? And then the video thing kind of happened organically, because I was already posting a lot of videos on my own social media, which are getting a good amount of engagement. But then after working with the first couple of clients, their reaction was like, wow, this is really good. I would love to pay you more to make more videos for me. And that's when I was like, aha, among the last 3, 4, 5 things that I've tried, this is the one that's getting me the highest, like the most compliments and the most feedback. So this is probably something that I can double down on and see if I can monetize even further.
So basically, where you create the most value for the people, right? Basically.
And the market will tell you. So do free work.
So talk to us a little bit about this, about the value creation. What was the value creation from the user perspective, right? So basically, you do video edits, you improve the sound, the quality, the flow, and so what was the value creation on the user side?
So the value creation on the user side is, I was kind of, we talked about what you're, first of all, in the first part of the conversation, we talked about what are you good at, right? Like what are my interests in? I think magic happens when what you're good at is in some parts, you know, crossing paths with what people want, right? What people value, and also a trend, right? Something where the market is going, right? I think that's the holy grail, the holy trinity, the three things that when they combine, you can create a lot of value. And I'll tell you how I discovered this. I'm subscribed to a newsletter which is actually going free right now. As of this week, it's no longer paid. It's called Trends, right? And Trends, talks a lot about like different trends of businesses and all that. And video editing just happens to be one of those things that are still trending. Like even because video is such a big part of our life now. So I saw that trend, and this other data point, this one data point I came across on a YouTube video was like podcasts are going to blow up even further because now YouTube is pushing podcasts. They have a podcast tab. There's algorithms are favoring podcasts. People are actually consuming a lot of podcasts on YouTube rather than Apple and Spotify podcasts. And YouTube is YouTube is fun because it has the audio only version on YouTube Music, or you can go video. You want to watch the people like people might be watching us, and so that is on the rise. There's a huge market, like millions of people are joining that bandwagon. So there's that trend. Then there's a skill that I have, a skill of being able to edit really fast and make video look pretty. And then there's also what people value. So what people valued is my clients end up being solo entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who are trying to make their business bigger and are trying to leverage video content as much as possible, right? So they need an editor who understands their brand. They need an editor who can do good cuts, make their videos from just boring talking head to something a little more engaging and fun to watch. So all those three things combined, I think that's where I kind of found that like one center point where I was like, okay, this is something I'm interested in. This is where the industry or the trend is heading, and also this is something that people really enjoy. So those three things came together, or people really value. Like people need this. People say, "Oh, you're really good at it." So those three things, when they come together, that's when you can really create a business that is. So just using that example, if I take when I was trying to do AI automations for businesses, AI definitely a trend, right? AI, people are valuing it. I think it's still really slow. Like I think people, like businesses, are still not adapting to AI as fast as they should. They should do it, but are they? No, because it's human nature. We're always, there's always a adoption curve. And then when it came to my own qualities, I was okay at it because I'd read all these articles and done all this research and done a few courses. But I'm not someone who spent years developing this craft. There's machine learning engineers who've been doing this for 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, right? Whereas in the video editing world, I had just out of pure interest been doing this for 3, maybe almost 4 years actually by myself. So I already had the years of experience under my belt. So my skill was there. People needed it, and it's a trend.
At the right time, at the right moment. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So any other advice that you think are actually valuable for people who want to start something on the side of their job, talking from your experience, really?
I think if I had to, we talked a lot about it. If I had to kind of converge those ideas into something more simpler and easier to digest, I think step one is understand why. Why would you want to do something on the side, right? If you're 100% happy and satisfied at the job, whatever you do right now, then just be really good at that. For me, I wasn't, right? So really identify, are you doing something for the sake of doing it, or is there a stronger why? Do you want to make side income? That could be a stronger why. Do you want to make more money for your kids or your parents? That could be a strong why. Do you just feel like you're not creatively fulfilled in your job right now, or fulfilled in whatever you want to do? That could be a very strong reason. So understand the why. That's number one. Number two would be think of everything that you're remotely interested in and go give it a try, right? Don't hold back. If you're interested in kickboxing, go join a kickboxing class. If you're interested in fitness or talking to a camera, do that. Do that for a few weeks and see how that makes you feel. And then you'll realize, whether doing that is exciting or not, right? When you find the 2 or 3 things, this is number 3. When you find the 2 or 3 things you're excited at, go really hard on them and try to learn everything possible about them. Then you can sort of see, okay, which is the one that I'm learning really fast or I have a natural knack for, right? So we're in step 3. Then step 4 is offer services for that in free and see and get the market feedback as you do free service. Then step 4 is done. Step 5, charge money. If you've gotten the feedback and you think you've done the tweaks to your service and people are saying, and your people that you've given service to for free tells you, specifically says, hey, I would pay for this service, this is that good, then go on to step 5 and charge for it. And then I think now I'm at stage 5, stage 6, where I'm trying to, obviously get more and more clients, but also scale that. Now I'm starting to think, hey, do I need to? So right now I have 5 active clients that I'm making videos for, which means on the weekends and evenings I'm always video editing. It's getting a little tiring. Now I'm thinking, okay, how do I scale that? Maybe I need to hire and train a new editor, right? Get him on a full-time salary, and then see if I can use my time getting more clients, right? If I can scale from 5 to 10 clients, I probably wouldn't be able to do all the work myself, but then I'd be earning more revenue, but then I'd have to teach someone to do some of the work. So now my next step is building those processes, hiring more people, and creating that system that I can scale. So that's really it, man. That's the sort of the 6-step process.
Yeah, I love it. I love it that you're able
try
to
a lot of things.
Yeah.
Understand. So if I had to summarize it, understand your why, try out a lot of different things, see what you like, offer services in that for free, get the feedback, then offer services for money, and then 6 is try to scale.
Awesome.
Easy.
I love that you're able to sum it up in 6 steps. It's easy for people to remember and do it. All right, Sifat. It was a pleasure to have you on Peopleizer, and I hope there's a lot of valuable content for the people.
Dude, I hope that someone watches it and gets some value, and always happy to help in whatever way possible. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.